Thank you for coming to the Eastside Herp Society meeting. My name is Robert, president.
Gotta turn up my hearing.
Oh, yeah, turn your hearing aids on. Thank you so much. It's always admittedly a little nerve-wracking when you get here and the room is mostly empty, and then right 5 minutes before 7 p.m. everyone arrives. So it's great to have you all here. And all of you in Zoom land, thank you for attending as well. This is supposed to work.
Hey, how are you doing?
Okay, so we are in the Sonora Desert in Tucson, Arizona. It's the traditional homelands of the O'odham people and many First Nations. The O'odham have a ton of place names named after amphibians and reptiles. I work at Chumamac, otherwise known as Tumamoc Hill, which is that is the O'odham word for horned lizard. And across the way in the Catalinas, we have Push Peak, whose west face looks like a giant toad. This is our current issue of Sonora Herpetologist, and it's dedicated to Roger Brett, who sadly passed away in November. We recently had a memorial for him, and it was well attended. It's kind of fitting that tonight's talk is about the social behavior of rattlesnakes. This is something that Roger was interested in as well. We have a couple of events this year, some of which we've already done, but this August is the Southwestern Partners in Amphibian and Reptile Conservation Meeting in St. George, Utah. In May, the first Congress of the State Herp Association of Sonora is taking place. If you are interested in attending or presenting, let us know. July 29th through August 1st is the 50th International Herpetological Symposium. There are scholarships for young herpetologists that they offer. And this year, the THS has sponsored its Conservation Award. And then in October is the Tucson Reptile and Amphibian Show and Sale, where we have an outreach table for our native amphibians and reptiles. We have a couple of volunteer opportunities, which is from today to May 17th. If you're interested, you can run that QR code or contact Becca at this email. And Jessica Moreno and Brian Blaise, who was a recipient of one of our research grants, is looking for volunteers to help them look at the impact of roads and document roadkill here in southern Arizona. So the deadline for our research fund, applying for research funds, is May 15th. The Charles Lowe Herpetology Research Fund and the Sonora Desert Toad Fund. Why is it problem? So the Snakes of Arizona has 2 companion volumes that are in preparation right now. You can go to this website if you'd like to donate images or observations or help out in some way. Wade brought a book to share with us that came out, Amphibians of the Sky Islands, right?
Yes.
Eco Publishing. If you want to have a look at it later on, he has a copy. The lizards and the snakes are forthcoming, right?
Right.
Yep. Okay. On August 4th, this book is coming out. It's sort of long-form journalism on the sordid underbelly of Sonora Desert Toad psychedelic exploitation in Sonora and all over the world, actually. I make a brief cameo in there. Apparently, I haven't read it yet. I'm awaiting advanced copies. But Timon de Greff is a conservation biologist from South Africa, who also has a journalism degree from City University of New York. So I hosted him about 3 years ago in Tucson and gave him the environmental, biocultural sort of impacts of the trafficking of Sonoran desert toads. And this is why we have a Sonoran desert toad fund. I don't know. So all of our talks, or most of our talks, are recorded and then uploaded to our YouTube channel. And next month, our speaker will be Erin McGee, who will talk about diversity in the STEM fields, with her topic being lizard ecology. She got her degree here at the U of A and has made a career of advocating for diversity in STEM. Tonight we have Max Roberts. He is a PhD student advised by Javan Bauder in the School of Natural Resources and the Environment here at the University of Arizona. His current work focuses on understanding how environmental variation impacts the biology of reptiles and amphibians in the Madrean Sky Islands. During his master's at California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo, Max worked with Emily Taylor on Project RattleCam, helping to launch the Colorado RattleCam Livestream and studying how weather patterns impact rattlesnake behavior. In his free time, you can find Max either out in the field searching for herps or birds to photograph, or playing saxophone at the local jazz jam. Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Thank you again, everyone, for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you
Possible.
all
It's hard to
about
hear.
this.
Can you speak up a little bit? And then the speakers are
Here and there.
Okay. So. Cool. But yes, thank you for having me. Really excited to share this work with you today and
I can't hear.
kind of talking a little more about
Can you hear?
my work with Project RattleCam.
I'm not.
Before I get into that, though, I just want to talk a little bit more about myself. So, Robert did a pretty good job introducing me. And yeah, my focus right now, I'm working with Javan Bauder, School of Natural Resources and the Environment, University of Arizona. And I have a few different cool projects I'm getting started. One of them working on Chiricahua leopard frogs, another on the long-tailed rattlesnakes here in Arizona, and then another one looking at just how general reptile and amphibian communities are affected by mesquite bidding and land management practice that we have here. So hopefully sometime we'll be able to come back and tell you about those how they're once they progress. And then other thing. So yeah, I got my undergrad at SPISB. I also play saxophone, so that's what I do my nightlife.
I think this microphone works better because we're not picking you up over here.
Yeah, I might want to project a little bit more.
I really can't hear.
Maybe best if he just spoke facing forward. It's much more audible when he faces forward.
I'm not facing anywhere but.
No, not you,
And he's
not
facing
you,
forward.
our speaker.
There's some seats up front too.
Move up front.
Why don't you
Yeah.
sit front?
Go right in the front row.
Unless no, it's not gonna help. That's all right. What is this?
So yes, so today that's kind of more what I'm doing now. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my master's research, which was focused on Project RattleCam. Before I can really get into that, I want to also mention one other thing about me, which is I just love being outside and really experiencing all of the amazing things that nature has to offer, and really just observing what animals do, what reptiles and amphibians do there in the wild. And this process of going out there, observing wildlife and nature and learning about it through that process is what we call natural history. This is like one of the most basic forms of like science, just biology, learning about what's happening in the world. And through recent years, this has really modernized in many ways. So one of those ways has been through the creation of community science platforms, where we're getting ordinary people that can go out there, they can observe stuff, they can take pictures, document where they found it, and then this information can be used by scientists to record biodiversity and mark distributions. There's also a lot that's been going on with using cameras to study wildlife. So a lot of wildlife are there when doing stuff when you're there out in the field. So if you have a camera that can capture it when you're gone, you can observe a lot of things you couldn't otherwise. And so camera traps have been one of the main things that's been used this way. It's been used in so many systems. It's really a critical tool for wildlife biologists, conservationists. And this has also been modernized with community science platforms such as Universe, where researchers can upload their camera trap photos, and then community scientists can go on there and actually sort through and say what's in the photos. So this field is becoming much more technology dependent and also much more inclusive, so getting everyone involved in this. And so it's cameras that I really want to talk about today as this way to research wildlife. And so a lot of this is used with studying mammals, but we can also use this to study reptiles. And so my national advisor, Emily Taylor and Scott Boback, they launched this project, Project RattleCam, that started out as a Universe project. So they had these sites in Colorado where there are prairie rattlesnakes, and these prairie rattlesnakes overwinter at these den sites. So they dens in rocky areas, and then during the summer, pregnant females that are getting ready to give birth will actually use them as rookeries. They'll kind of hang out there at these sites, and these are really big dens. They did mark capture studies to see how many snakes there were, and they were able to tell that there were hundreds of snakes at just one of these den sites. So yeah, a lot of snakes. It was kind of crazy. And so what they did once they marked those snakes, they wanted to see how many were actually staying at the den and what they were doing. And so they deployed those camera traps at these dens to see when the snakes were there. And the ones that they caught, they marked with identifiable rattle combinations. So they would use nail polish on the rattle that you could tell from the images which snake you were looking at on the nail. And so this was all of that data was uploaded to Zooniverse, and community scientists were able to filter through that and help them figure out, just how many snakes were out there, and also which individuals were actually staying. And one of the discoveries from this was that it was the females that were mostly staying at the den during the summer. They were getting ready to. This was kind of the start of Project RattleCam, how this began. And it really was a good example of how involving the community, we can make many more discoveries. But this was only step one. There was also, I like this idea of using a different kind of camera to study rattlesnakes as well. So one of the things that's been really popping up in recent years is the use of live streaming cameras to bring public closer to wildlife. So you may have heard about some of these, like the peregrine falcon camera at UC Berkeley, and also the grizzly bear camera from Alaska, which are filmed pretty much all the time during active season. You check in whenever you want to, wherever you are, as long as you have internet connection, and then watch what is actually happening at these sites. And watching animals do what they do. So it's kind of like watching a documentary, but it's not just the you know, the hunts. It's all the stuff that like goes around that. And all the, you can check in whenever you want to as well. So it's a really immersive opportunity for people to view, but it also represents a great opportunity for research because these cameras are basically collecting data nonstop as long as they're on. And so that's a huge amount of data where we could be using that to understand natural history and behavior. But what about reptiles? A lot of these have mostly focused on birds, mammals, other charismatic species that most of the public are already really interested in. But you could try using this for reptiles, and that might be able to get people excited more about these. And of course, using it to learn about their natural history. There's this other aspect of this that Emily Taylor was really interested in trying live streams with reptiles, and that is that rattlesnakes, her main species, they kind of get a bad rap in how they're discussed. So this article on the left here, I actually just sent today. And so some of you might have been hearing about in California, they're having a really big uptick in rattlesnake activity just because of how warm it's been. And like, here's an article that's like, when they're discussing this, they say rattlesnake infested areas. It's like talking about like their pests. Then here's some like videos you could look up on YouTube. When I just looked up rattlesnake video, like ready to strike and deadly rattlesnakes. You can see they're all like in their defensive costumes here. So usually when we see rattlesnakes in the media, they're portrayed in this really intimidating way, very sensationalized. And so if this is how you know rattlesnakes, being someone who doesn't encounter them that often, this can actually, you know, make you more fearful of those things. So rattlesnakes really need more positive PR to kind of get more positive perceptions about them. And so with all of these ideas going around, so this is what led to Emily Taylor launching the California RattleCam Livestream. This is the next phase of Project RattleCam. She worked with several engineers at Cal Poly, which I'll show you later, to create this live streaming camera right here, which cameras here and it aims at this rattlesnake rookery right here, which this is in California with western rattlesnakes. And it's not a den, they don't overwinter there, but it is a rookery site where females will get ready to give birth. And this is also operating fully remote. It's not plugged in to like an outlet or a wall. It's powered by solar energy and it connects cellularly to like a network for the live stream. So this had to be custom built. And so this was the kind of footage that this camera was able to get. So another thing too, you could see there that the camera was able to tilt a little bit as the snake was moving. So this is a camera that actually can be operated to zoom in and tilt depending to follow the action. And this can be done from your office at home. So I could actually be logged into the camera right now from here and I can control it. That's how it works. It's really cool. But here you can see it's kind of just recording the snakes doing what they're doing. They're not in a defensive posture, not being intimidated. Instead, we see things like this. And this is just a very different, more calm nature that a lot of people don't get to see rattlesnakes. And even many rattlesnake enthusiasts who go out there to see rattlesnakes don't get to see this too, because we disturb them by going out there. It's not just about showing rattlesnakes a different light too, we can also learn different things. And so this is one of the unique discoveries that the California Cam really showed us. So here looks like this female rattlesnake basking with one of her babies on top of her. But if you look closely, notice the back half of this rattlesnake is really thick and distended, more so than it seemed like it should. And that's because this is actually a pregnant female. So she has not given birth yet. So that baby on top of her is not her baby, it's another female's baby. Yet she's there and she's protecting it. Let's stop that there, but this is what we call alloparental care, where an individual other than the mother actually cares for the offspring. And so this was the first time we had documented this with rattlesnakes, which is really cool. So rattlesnakes are already very notable that they do provide parental care to their offspring, but also other individuals can care for the babies as well. Occasionally, California would get rain out there when the snakes are active, and we get to see things like this, where rattlesnakes are actually drinking. It used to be thought that rattlesnakes didn't need to drink in order to get the moisture that they need, but they actually do. So when it does rain, they form this nice coil, and they will then, yes, right now it's sped up, so you can kind of see the action part. But yeah, they'll form this coil, and their scales have this unique structure that allows water to really stick to it. So then they just sip up the water and suck their scales. Yeah, this is also a really cool behavior that the viewers really like to watch. We also get to see how the snakes interact with other animals. So here you just saw a shadow fly by as there was some bird flying overhead. Snake puffed out, flicking its tongue. I'll just let you watch what happens. Yeah, so you didn't want to be out there when that bird was there. But snakes don't always flee. Sometimes they actually stand their ground. So here's a case where a striped racer is coming up to the rookery. Let's take a look at the rattlesnake, gets real startled. He's like, no, I'm not going in there. And you can see more here, like the camera operator is trying to follow the snake. So camera gets a little funky here, but it's right here, but it's right side. The striped racers are snake eaters, so it's possible that that snake was trying to look for baby rattlesnakes to eat. So the adult rattlesnakes probably don't want it there. And that's probably why this snake right here, which I'm not sure if it was a male or female, but he actually came out when the striped racer was there, basically chasing him away. So sometimes they can actually protect.
Tell that's a male.
I can't tell what that is. I think it was a male, but I can't remember for sure.
Is there a way of knowing?
There is a way of knowing. I'll show it later when there's a bit better. Here's another similar example. So this the right side of the screen here, you can see there's a king snake that's crawling along the edge of the rookery. And he just got spooked. And this is a female. We do know this one is female. That's actually an identified snake. And so yeah, she detected the king snake was there, and then came on out to chase him away. So another example that
Chased it away.
Yeah. So I'll play it back to them, watch it again. So yeah, the rattlesnake is off frame here on the right. So when you see the king snake twitch and flee, then you'll see the rattlesnake on that. Yeah, so you normally think like king snake, and the snake eaters, the rattlesnake should be fearful, want to go away. But it's not always that way. Sometimes they're actually chasing the king snakes. And so one last thing for the California rattlesnakes too is that one of our undergraduate students at Cal Poly, Stella Raymond, who's actually now one of Emily's graduate students, has been trying to identify all of the California snakes on this live stream, like trying to find all of their unique color patterns and have their defining traits, giving them names. And she's actually studying like how does their activity vary across years and over the course of a year, and if they interact together in specific things. So hopefully she'll have that work to finish in a year or so, and she'll get to tell you all about that. But yeah, just one of the cool projects that's going on. That's it for the California Cam, and that was a really good start for this live stream and trying to test this out. I only had this vision for having many more snakes. I'm like really getting big with this, and so this led to the Colorado RattleCam Livestream, which I helped a lot, along with the help of Owen, Emily, and Scott. And so this again, we're in Colorado with prairie rattlesnakes. Not at the same sites that Emily and Scott studied in the past, but a different one that still has, we estimate, hundreds of prairie rattlesnakes. And this camera was built differently. It had to be a lot more work went into it. It was a higher system. It has night vision, so much higher end camera. But all of this had to be custom built. And so I want to give a big shout out to Rob, Doug, and Kevin, who are the main engineers who worked on all these cameras. And so they basically had to rig up this whole system so that this thing could be powered remotely. And also, just to kind of show more what this looks like.
Wow.
Here's a video where all of these snakes were coming out during like a rainstorm. So you can see the snakes get very active during those conditions. And you can see kind of that tilt and zoom feature that the camera has to be able to follow the action. And there's one of our camera operators who can kind of show you what it looks like from his end operating the camera. So it's literally just this laptop controlling.
So when they're drinking like this, they're not laughing at stuff, they're not using their tongue at all, but they're slurping, they're sucking the water.
Yeah. So they kind of move their face in and out, get that sucking pressure to bring it in. Yeah, good point. Is their tongue was sort of designed for clicking, so it's not like flapping out. And then of course, this is a live stream, so people are able to watch this. It's not just researchers and camera operators, but anyone when this is live can go and check it out. This has actually been up for a week this year, so the Colorado live stream is up. So I encourage you all to check it out. And this is kind of what the interface looks like on YouTube. So you have like the whole screen, what the camera's seeing live, but you also have the live chat on the right. And so anyone can like comments, have conversations with other viewers. And if anyone has questions, they can also ask those questions in the chat. And then we have an operator on hand all the time during the day, and so they can answer those questions. So we're actually able to give people good information on rattlesnakes and what they're seeing on the live stream. People can also comment what they see as well. So saying, oh, this individual Thea just showed up at this time on the live stream. And that can be helpful to all the researchers using this data to be able to do that. Look at what circumstances. To kind of give a little bit of insight into what the viewers are like. So this has had a real impact on quite a few viewers. Many are returning viewers who come to watch this literally every day. And some have really changed their perspective from watching RattleCam. So some have gone to really liking snakes. Others have gone from being uncomfortable to not liking snakes, but being okay with them. And so it's been really good to see that has had that positive impact that we were hoping on. It also had some other impacts on viewers as well that have been beneficial. And then I think this comment really testifies just how much of a community has been made by this live chat stream. And that's wonderful, getting people connected over our state. And then there's been a lot of people that have actually seen this live stream too. So these numbers are now outdated, way more than all of this, just to give you an idea of how big of a following this has gained. And in 2024, when we first launched the Colorado live stream, it also got covered by a whole bunch of news outlets. Ryan Singer, another undergrad, actually created lists of all of the news organizations that cover the RattleCam during those press briefings. And so this really helps to uptick viewership and get more people interested. Another thing I'll point out too is that we also were able to get installations that show the RattleCam put up in several different zoos that are working with us. And the Arizona Sonoran Desert Museum is actually one of those organizations. So if you go into the reptile and amphibian house there, you can actually see the live stream, and it should be up now because the stuff is awesome. Thank you. Yeah, if you want to hear more about the overall, read more about the overall live stream and how we deployed that, all the press that it got, you can read more about that publication that was published last year, just kind of about the live stream. All right, so we have this live streaming camera. First stuff that we see. Well, one thing that we saw more of is rattlesnakes drinking, kind of like what we found on the California cam. But the Colorado cam, it actually rains there more often, so we get to see this more. And the viewers really love this. They think the rattlesnakes really look cute when and so this has been a great outreach tool just to show this one thing. Get people to see rattlesnakes in a different way. And this is also a really cool video of this because this snake is really flattened out to create that bowl shape to catch water. They don't always get that flat, but like it's kind of amazing. And another thing that was really interesting we saw a few times is that the snakes would actually come out and drink during hailstorms, not just rain. Which, as far as we know, this is the first time that that's been recorded. So this is a pretty novel observation.
I mean, you can see the hail melting as it hits the rocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was probably like just full enough for like the hail. So that's like the thing with Colorado. It's like even in summer you can get like snow.
Yeah.
Just if you get the right support system going.
So does this drinking behavior just occur when they don't have availability for it?
No, so this happens just all the time. They have to hydrate in order to get food, so they can't get it all from eating. So even our rattlesnakes here around Tucson, they also do this, but it's hard to see that because when the rain's there that they're going to use, it's monsoon season, and all the snakes are away from their dens and their breeze. So it's kind of hard to be right at the spot where snakes.
This reminds me of the note that I read. It was in Chicago Bulletin, but someone photographed a dead prairie rattler that they thought had been killed by hail.
Oh, interesting.
So the instinct to drink might override that self-preservation.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's another clip I don't have on here, but it's on our YouTube channel where a baby was drinking during a hailstorm and one fell right on its head, and so then after that it floated away. Yeah, but yeah, you can share with that. You also get to see male and female on camera. So this is two males fighting over a nearby female. Some of you may have seen this before, but for those who haven't seen this, basically what they do is a full body version of a thumb wrestle. So one tries to get on top of the other and push the other down. And once one is just too weak to keep fighting, then that's the end of the fight. So yeah, this was the first time that we'd seen that on Colorado camera. I'll just speed this up so you can see the end of it. Yeah, you can see they're mostly done now. So one of them just needs to make it. We also often saw males at the den during the summer, which we actually didn't expect. We had thought they all left the den during the summer to go find mates and go feed. But some of the males actually were there during the summer, and they tried to court females that were there. Kind of getting all up over them, doing the head twitching or head jerking behavior that they kind of do to get females. We haven't seen any successful mating on the Colorado camera, but that has meant that they were trying to get females. And so that snake you just saw was 4. So he's one of our like rock star snakes that would often be doing that behavior. And so here he is courting another snake. However, this snake, if you look at its tail, it has this really long tail. It has a lot of like banding rather than watching here. So that other snake is actually a male. So this is a male on a male, which is something that's only been documented a few times before in the future. And so it's unclear exactly what's going on here. It could be like a dominant spinning or something.
How close are these dens to civilization?
Like this den, it's like remote area.
It's remote.
Yeah, so it's not like
I just asked because the few studies that relocated snakes like outside of their territory, this behavior is noted for the ones that actually survive. Dislocated snakes or lost snakes.
yeah. This wouldn't be like any snakes that are relocated. It's like yeah, that's an interesting thought. So it could be something like
Sort of disturbance or
disturbance. Yeah, this is something we don't really know what's going on, so interesting to see. Another really cool thing that we got to see, but we didn't think we were going to get to see, is live birth of rattlesnakes. So rattlesnakes are vipers. They give birth to live young. They don't lay eggs. And this has been filmed in a captive setting before. If anyone's seen the new documentary series Americas and the prairie rattlesnake scene there, Emily Taylor's lab was actually involved in helping that filming occur. But we didn't think that we could get this from like rattlesnakes. And so we were really, really happy when we saw that we could actually get this nighttime footage. And this is the first time that a live bird has been recorded in the wild around snakes. And then, yeah, once the babies arrived, it was like a whole other boost of like viewership. Everyone was really interested. We even had a big contest where people could guess the exact date and time that the first babies were going to show up, and we gave out a prize to the person with the closest guess. And so then, yeah, people got to see things like this for all the babies are hanging out in space. And this is Fia. She's a named rattlesnake. And we also knew at this time that she was a pregnant female. She hadn't given birth yet. So here's another example of that aloe parental care that we were talking about earlier. And one of the most interesting things that we got to observe with these snakes is their communication. You'll see this small snake comes up to this female, and then she does this head twitching motion. So it's kind of similar to what male rattlesnakes do when they're courting females, which is trying to get them. But this is not the same thing. It's something different. It's smaller duration, and these are 2 females that are twitching to each other. You just saw, and a young newborn doing that to each other. So it's not just about like mating. There's more going on here. And then here's 4 again. So large male, and here's baby. You'll see a small interaction here. So we're not sure what is going on with this communication, but clearly these snakes are saying something to each other. And so Grace, one of our undergraduate students, has been trying to characterize these interactions and get some more insight into what is actually going on. And so kind of getting more into that social aspect, how these snakes interact with each other. One of the challenges with the Colorado Livestream is how we track them all. As I mentioned, we estimate there's hundreds of snakes at this end site, and they look very similar. It's very hard to actually differentiate which ones are which. So this again is where we go back to community science and the involve the community scientists to solve the problem. So one of the things we did when we launched the live stream, so Owen Bachler, my colleague here, his master's thesis, he was trying to actually study the social networks of these snakes. So how do they interact with each other? Are some individuals hanging out with others more than just randomly in the snake? And so he needed to identify some snakes. And to do that, he had this name of snakes submission board, which is still up now. Anyone can go on up there and basically take screenshots of the live stream at 3 different times where you see a snake that has the same patterns, and just saying, how can you identify this? And so if you do that as a viewer, you then get to name the snake. So these are all real snake names that people name snakes on the live stream. And so during the first year, we were able to name just over 20 snakes that were there and that Owen was able to use for his research. The number is much more now. And again, this form is up there on the live stream. So if any of you feel like getting to name a snake, you can go through, watch it, and identify one. And so with that data, I was able to get all of these different snakes that were named, figure out when they were current, and then where later in the season they were seen. And so thanks to this group of rattle researchers, which were also community scientists, helping him go through the footage, finding these identified snakes, he was able to create this log when all of these snakes were on the camera and where, and to be able to see when they were spending time with people. And so he used this to do social network analysis, which is basically figuring out how associated are different individuals. So I'll kind of show that plot so you can see it just break down. So there will be males and then both reproductive and non-reproductive females. And then the size of the icon you see, it shows how gregarious or how social they are. So the bigger the icon, the more time they're spending with other snakes. Smaller, more time for other. And so this is what his social network looked like. So big takeaway is that there's a lot of clustering. So a lot of the snakes were spending time with each other more often than being alone. And it was mostly the females that were hanging out together. And most of those little dots that you're seeing on kind of the fringes of this, most of those were males. So you can also kind of visualize here just how the males are usually on their own. They're not hanging out frequently with one specific individual. Whereas pregnant females, they're often hanging out with each other and hanging out with specific individuals. So Owen's in the process of getting this manuscript ready to publish. I'm also working on my own manuscript and ready to publish it. So hopefully we'll have a paper coming out in the near future with our information. And then we also saw some interesting interactions here on this camera. So one of the cool things was it wasn't just rattlesnakes that utilize this den, it's also garter snakes. And there have been some interesting interactions between these two species. Most of the time, they don't care about each other. But this was one clip we actually got just the other day. And you can watch what the rattlesnake does here. Kind of raising his body, kind of similar to like the king snake kind of posture they do. Sometimes they raise their. Which this was really interesting when I saw this recently, because most of the time the rattlesnakes don't really care that the garbage snakes are there. They just live together, picks up each other. But clearly sometimes they're and here's kind of an example of that situation where they're usually hanging out together. And I was there when this clip was filmed. It's just very funny. Probably one of my favorite clips. And yeah, sometimes doesn't always work out well for the rattlesnakes. So this was actually during one of our first few weeks of the live stream. So this is a black-billed magpie. And they're known to eat rattlesnakes. And so he came in and we tried to take off with one of the baby rattlesnakes from the previous year.
You know how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nancy flies. And that's happened several times since. So it actually only happened once in 2024, but then the next year we had a few more the times that we saw that. And it's not always magpies. That's an American badger. Yeah, you can see the snake skeleton from where it's basking. So that was pretty good. We actually had a badger on the camera just last week as well. He didn't go after a rattlesnake, but he was like searching around the den, trying to see if anything was out. So yeah, I recommend going to our channel and checking out. And then also made some very interesting discoveries with invertebrates too. So one of the first things we saw when we were watching the snakes at night resting in their crevice is all of these little insects that were like moving around on the rattlesnakes. Yeah, they're kind of look like midges. And we were like, what are these things? And so through Emily's connections with other colleagues, we were able to figure out that these are sandflies. This very small group of flies that are actually parasitic on hosts. And so what these were male sandflies that were kind of patrolling their territory on the snakes, waiting for females to show up so that they can mate with them. And the females are the parasitic ones that will actually take blood meals from their hosts. So here's what one of those looks like. So it's not like they took a blood meal and then the host, is negatively affected. It's kind of just they're there and they're doing this. And so when we see this clip and see how many of them are there on these snakes, one of the things that strikes us is that these rattlesnake dens might actually be like a hot spot for these sandflies. That might be this is like a key resource for them. There's a lot more to learn about this. We're really interested in figuring out what exact species these are and learning more about their biology. And trying to get a sample of one of these, but it's been involved. So hopefully in the future we'll have that and be able to learn more. Another thing of note is that when I've been doing my own explorations, sometimes I look back on my observations and realize something that I never noticed before. And so this is a western rattlesnake that I observed in Ventura County in California. And I was just looking at my observations that I had taken past, and I realized there was one of these on that snake, and I had never realized it. This snake was also resting under a piece of tin, so it was like hiding. and that sandfly was on there when it was which raises even more questions about what is going on here. It also points out it's not just one species of rattlesnake that's potentially present. And this one kind of a little gross, but last year was really hard on the rattlesnakes. As I'm sure you all are aware, because it was really dry here. The West just had a really hot and dry year last year, and Colorado was no different. It was one of the driest years they've had on record. And so some of the rattlesnakes didn't make it. So we actually had a rattlesnake that passed away inside the crevice that rattlesnakes usually hang out in. And so we got to see all of the invertebrates basically go and feed on that crevice afterwards. And like those big beetles or like carrion beetles, they're specifically there because there's crevice. So we're like learning about what happens like when a rattlesnake dies, like what insects go after it, and just about this other part of like the ecosystem that are all. It's creepy. Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. All that stuff. So since that was kind of a little gross stuff like that, I'll now show you a very hilarious series of clips where snakes just fall and walk around. Yeah, one of the things about these snakes too that I think is just so funny that the viewers really like is that they can be really comical. We just saw so many times when these snakes would just flop or fall down, and so I assembled this highlight reel of snakes basically just fall down. There's also sound to this one, but I'll let you watch the sound. This one. Yeah, so sometimes we have to assemble those just really fun clips too, to really get people laughing about snakes, which is like apparently most people never think it's possible about snakes. It is. So my final big announcement I want to mention is that this year we have a third RattleCam that's being launched, the Timber Cam. So this is going to be in Pennsylvania. It's really large rattlesnake den. Not as many snakes as the Colorado den, but still quite a bit in a very different system. And we're really excited about this, not just to learn about different species of rattlesnake, but also for many people in eastern states, this is the main rattlesnake they think about here. So by showing these snakes, we'll be able to reach like a whole new audience and change a lot more perspectives about snakes. So that's happening this next month. Don't know the exact date, but it's coming up. So I highly recommend you check that out. With that, I just want to acknowledge many people who have made all of this work possible, and especially the many camera operators who are always working to operate the camera, engage with the viewers, the many countless donors. Project RattleCam is primarily donor funded, and we have some truly amazing donors who have made all of what you see happen. If anyone has questions, feel free to email me. Happy to talk more about them. And if you want to learn more about the project and see the live stream, you can scan that QR code and that will take you right to it. Yeah, thank you for having me. I will take questions.
So regarding the alloparental care, were there any other behavioral aspects that would indicate that it was supposed to be more parental and caring rather than an indifference?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And so, yeah, we haven't like done like formal study on it. So it's kind of difficult to say how much is it just, okay, the females are just there and then the babies go to them. And yeah, so we don't know how much is just the convenience or if they're actually trying to offer care. So that's not what we're interested in studying. One thing we haven't done with this population, but wanted to do is actually get like blood samples from snakes and then see what are the relations between the snakes. So is the female that's caring for the babies. Maybe it's not their mom, but maybe it's their aunt. Maybe it's their close. We actually have samples for a different population that may be able to get processed and look at that. We have it in this time.
Great talk. So how reliable is identifying the individuals? And is it only adults because they take into like genetic effects, color changes? And we know with like cerebrus, like that can change over minutes, right? And then some other crotales have been found to change pretty rapidly through stress or temperature, just mood, right? So how reliable is this color pattern? Is there only certain species that can be identified?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, at least with the Western rattlesnakes, prairie rattlesnakes, what we're using for identification is their pattern, so not the color. Color changes over time, but the patterning is consistent over time. So if they're born with like a misshapen blotch, that's going to be retained as they grow. Most of the ones that have been identified have been adults, so they're kind of, less change is happening anyway. One thing I've noticed trying to name a few snakes myself is that you can't just go on like one or two pattern things. You kind of need like three. Because one time I was trying to identify two snakes. I'm like, here's two images of the same snake. It has these two pattern markings. But then Owen and I looked and we considered a third marking, and it was different between the two snakes. So just with so many of them, sometimes you will get those same different pattern appearances. Just how many snakes you're looking at. So there's definitely some challenges, but overall, if you can get a good view of the snake, it is possible to definitively say, okay, it's that.
Yes. Question and comment. The question is, do they after they give birth, after females give birth, do all the adults disperse? Is there anybody that hangs out there all summer long?
Yeah, that's a great question. Should have mentioned this too, the timing. So yeah, the snakes come out in May, and then the females stay and then give birth in like August, September. And so a lot of them will just hang out at that point, because by the time September comes around, they only have a few weeks until it's going to get really cold anyway. And that's one reason why females at this site in Colorado don't reproduce like a year. They reproduce 1 year, then they take a year off, or sometimes two, to basically regain their weights. We did notice when some of the females we've been tracking did give birth, that they afterwards did become harder to see. And so we think maybe some of them did try to go for a quick run to get a meal before winter came. So it seems like there's different strategies that snakes can use.
Then the comment blood-sucking midges have been documented in a number of our desert lizards as well as desert tortoises. So I think they're equal opportunity parasites on reptiles and other things. People, if you hold still.
Yeah.
We did get them on tiger rattlesnakes as well.
Oh, that's cool.
They were identified as midges, which is a different order or family. And I can get those to you. Notes.
Oh yeah, be awesome.
Doc Volback came out last year and to talk about rain harvesting, and they have fixed up a way to spray the snakes they have there, and they found that the juveniles will drink off of other females that are coiled up with pools of water between their coils, and they have videos of that.
Yeah. We have a lot of videos of like the snakes drinking on their channel, and sometimes we do see snakes drinking off of their neighbors. So there'll be one that's like coiled drinking this on itself, and then another one nearby. And it brings its head over to the first one, drinks off there. Which is another neat thing about like social interactions. Like, do those snakes know each other? Are they like best buds? Is that why one is doing it? All these are great questions.
I'm sorry. Am I understanding this correctly, that they're not
going to bodies of water to drink, they're only drinking off themselves or other nearby snakes?
Yeah, great question. So they can do both. And definitely, there's been less observations of many species of rattlesnakes. They will go to like bodies of water to drink. For the females that are hanging out at that den site, though, there is no standing water there. So the only way they can drink when they're reliant on staying at that den is to actually have that rain harvesting behavior. And the reason why they have to be there at the den, not just because they're getting heavy and it's hard to move around, but also the rocks at the den provide good thermal refuge to help them maintain a constant body temperature as their areas. Yeah, great question.
So, there's a hibernacula and there's a rookery, so is the rookery just like a platform in the hibernacula?
Yeah. So great question. So the Colorado den, it functions as both. So it's this overall hibernacula. They're spending the winter in it, and then during the summer, that exact same space, just outside of it, is used as a rookery by the females. So yeah, those terms are more just like what's the function of the habitat features. Hibernacula, they're spending the winter there. Rookery, they're just getting ready to birth. So yeah, Colorado, it functions as both. The California site, it is just a rookery, so not moving.
Yeah, you talked, okay, so you have these videos, right? You talked about publishing formal studies. So how do you translate these anecdotal videos into something that's data that you can then go on and publish? Like, what's the characterization process for translating video into data, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of the more anecdotal natural history notes, we are just planning on like publishing those as natural history notes, so kind of more simple. Some of the broader things like social networks and looking at how snakes spend time to each other, whether they're seasonal patterns, that we can kind of see with these more repetitive data points across the live stream. So it's less one video we're looking at and more a collection of observations. And so those are kind of what we're getting at when we're trying to create those like answer those broader research questions. So yeah, Owen's trying to look at social network analyses, how the snakes are interacting. My work, which I didn't have time to talk about, was looking at how weather patterns impact different basking behaviors in the snakes. And so that also I'm getting different time intervals of the live stream and seeing what the snakes are doing and getting data that way. So there's definitely this getting data through live streams is definitely something that's still being worked out. And I think we're one of the groups that's really trying to kind of address like how to do that. How can we make good research designs out of this?
Comment, yes.
Yeah, I'm not yeah, to the question in the chat, I'm not really sure about that specific parasite. Sorry, good point.
We have plans to take things like eye buttons, microenvironments. Behavioral association,
Yeah, that's a great question. That actually kind of goes more into my master's work. Was I actually did have some data workers out there that were collecting the operative temperatures of the environment, which that's really just what are the possible temperatures that a snake could be experiencing. I had one of those in a very sunny location that was going to get very hot during the middle of the day, and another in a shady location had more like moderate temperature. And so I actually have been using those to study how does the temperature cause snakes to like coil up versus being more stretched out or being in the shade versus being in the sun. So yeah, that is part of our research. I'm working on publishing it.
like Bob DC wants to know, if you've discovered anything about hibernaculum fidelity in different environments.
Yeah, it's a really good question. What so far with just Project RattleCam study of the Colorado rattlesnake dens, there seems to be pretty high site fidelity. So individuals go back to the same den. And we know that from our mark capture studies that we've done with stuff. So there's still some kind of question like how solid that is. I'm sure some snakes are moving between. It seems like most of them are just staying at those same spots. So in terms of like them spreading their genes, having health populations, they do tend to reproduce when they leave the hibernacula and go down into their surrounding lowlands, and that's at the time where they could meet snakes from nearby banks. So.
Is there any variation between Colorado and California? Or difference in that pattern of?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to compare because the California snakes use it as a rookery, so they're not like overwintering there. So kind of different functional use, and we only have one site there that we're looking at, so it's difficult to kind of see like how it compares to snakes.
Multiple sites in Colorado.
Yeah, so for the live stream, you just have the one, but those sites that Emily Taylor and Scott Boback were looking at, camera traps, are of different populations. And so with those, because we have those two different systems, we're kind of able to see. Thank you so much.
The live camp, Katie White, great snakes.